Special edition of America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. And we're joined this evening by some very special guests as we cover these 15 states that are voting in a series of caucuses and primaries and the like. We have with us tonight a great friend of the show, Justine Murray. Thanks for joining us, Justine.
Thank you for having.
And also with us tonight,
we're in New York at the bodyguard.
and I'm also with you, Ted Goodman, and I'll remain at the camera so we can keep the ratings. They're going up. They're big over. Wow, we're hitting records here within the first couple minutes. So,
All right.
Mayor, we'll let you take it from here. I know we have an interactive map.
So I thought I used this interactive map because this will show us the ones he's supposed to do the best, worst, and let's see if it works out that way. So the best are the three or the four right here in the middle of the country: Oklahoma, Arizona, Tennessee, and Alabama. That's where he's supposed to have big 70%, 75%, maybe even 80%. Then as we move to the slightly more red colors, North Carolina, Texas, believe it or not, California, Minnesota is supposed to do really well. Then in Alaska and Utah could be a little challenging, but over double digits. And the ones that are supposed to cause them trouble are Virginia, Vermont, Maine, and Massachusetts. So let's see what happens when the vote starts coming in. Not much has come in so far. So we'll have to take a look and see what's going on. So
Single digit predictions for Vermont, Mayor?
pardon me?
Single digit predictions for Vermont?
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
if there was any state, Vermont would be
It's Vermont.
single.
I will say some good news early on out of the Trump camp is Virginia. I would have thought Virginia could be a little bit. Haley has been able to win, even though you're talking about by hundreds of votes, basically, that she was able to win by. So far, Vermont with 44% of it in, Trump is up 32 points. I'm sorry, Virginia with 44% of the vote in, Trump is up 32 points in Virginia. That's a
now,
big number.
So Vermont was in the top, was in the bottom.
Virginia. Sorry.
Virginia was in the bottom four.
Yes.
Was in the bottom four for him, and he's obviously doing very, very well there.
Yeah.
And Maine was one of the others.
Yeah.
And Maine hasn't come in yet.
And to Caitlin's point, Vermont, with 15% of the vote, Trump is up, looks like about a point at this point. So
Right.
it's pretty close with only 15% of the vote in, still a long way to go. But that one looks to be by far the most competitive. Everything else, Virginia has 44% of the vote in. He's up 32 points. Everything else, Texas, Oklahoma, North Carolina, which just closed at 8 o'clock. You have 3% of the vote in these
So you
states.
think
and
he
Trump's
win?
up 50.
I guess the only question is, does he win every state, which means he has to hold on to that single digit in Vermont? Vermont is one he could lose, I guess, right? If he's at a single digit.
If we were to pick one state, I would go with Vermont.
What do you think?
I would say Vermont. I don't think that even if he wins Vermont by just a little bit, I really don't think it's going to make a difference at this point.
No, socialist states don't count.
Yeah, exactly.
Go burn, come on, it's crazy burn.
Heads.
So before we get into the rest of these, I'm going to give you some interesting, the case I'm interested in the most, which is the one in Georgia. It looks like a new witness has come forward, named Cindy Lee Yeager, a professional prosecutor. Cindy Lee Yeager says that for quite some time, Mr. Bradley, who was the most pathetic witness I've ever seen, the biggest liar on the witness stand, for months had been telling her that that Fanny and her lover boy were lover boys long before she hired him, and that Bradley was lying and that they were lying. But worst of all, she overheard a conversation in which Bradley was told by the prosecutor, by Fanny, that that he should keep his mouth shut about everything that he knew. What does that sound like? We want to start? Justine? What does that sound like?
It's like a kangaroo court.
Yeah. That sounds like isn't that what they were going after Trump for, with all the obstruction of justice, when he was telling witnesses what to say and what not to say? Sounds like Fanny, quite contrary.
And how many have you seen that with Democrats? Projection, right? They'll blame Republicans for doing something and then they're doing it tenfold. So
On top of that, they get very emotional. We all saw Fanny make a complete joke out of herself with the whole sass during the entire this whole do it exactly. It's projection. When they're losing, when they know they're wrong, it's like when you're caught, you're a little kid in school and the teacher catches you and they bring you into the principal's office and you're saying, I didn't do it. And you get emotional. The more emotional you get and the crazier you get, the more guilt you probably have.
That guy Bradley, though, Angie, of all the witnesses I've seen break down on the witness stand.
Well, let me ask you, from a legal perspective,
Worse.
we've since seen the text messages that Bradley ended up sending to Trump's lawyer before they ended up actually having him on the witness stand, basically admitting that they absolutely started a relationship before she hired him for the case, admitting that. Those text messages in a court of law, how much will the judge weigh those text messages versus his sworn testimony, which we can all agree was pathetic, but how much would the judge weigh those text messages, those admittance to Trump's lawyers, even if they were not under oath, if you will?
Really, it's up to the trier of fact, right? So in this case, it's a judge to decide. And one of the things that a trier of fact is told to do, like juries are told to do, is to assess the demeanor of the witness. And I think on demeanor of the witness,
demeanor alone.
Bradley killed himself. I mean, if he didn't look like a liar, nobody looked like a liar. First of all, he waited a half hour to answer a question. He put his head down. Mr. Bradley. Bradley.
If I'm learning anything from these cases, if I'm ever in legal trouble, I will put my head down and just keep repeating, I don't recall.
I don't recall.
If you're a Democrat in Georgia.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't recall. I mean, I think if the judge plays it fair and square, the judge is going to say that his demeanor gave him away.
Is
That
fair and square here?
I think if I were the judge, I'd write. I don't think I've ever seen a man act more like a liar than he did. He looked like he was lying, right? And then everything he said was wrong. Every single thing he told her was wrong.
So the judge would consider those text messages, which
You could
obviously
as much weight. Yeah.
refute. Okay, so the judge may consider those because obviously that's pretty very different than the testimony they ended up giving on the witness stand.
And the testimony he gave up on the witness stand was, I can't remember.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much, I didn't say it.
Mhm.
It was, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Which is weak testimony. Also now with Yeager, now you've got another witness that says that he said the same thing to her that he wrote to the lawyer.
Right.
So now you've got two times where he said it. So I think that's going to pretty much sink it.
Collusion.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much going to sink it and throw them out of the case. And then the question is, what happens to my case? Could it possibly go away?
Unless they'll probably just put someone else incompetent in charge.
But there's a lot of talk that nobody wants it. In other words, that the other prosecutors who were taking it over say, we don't want to prosecute this piece of junk. I mean, this was a very special case of hers that I don't know if anybody would agree with.
Right.
Remember, she got the indictment without getting the grand jury to vote for it. She filed it. The clerk called her up and said, Fanny, there's a little problem here. Doesn't seem like the grand jury voted for this.
I mean, how they were so focused on proving this orange man bad theory, right? That's all they've been focused on for the past how many years?
Been just like falling through their fingers like sand. It still astonishes me. How did Fannie Willis? She had to become a lawyer. How did she ever? How are people allowed to get through the legal system? How are people in our authority, in our legislative branches, in the court, how are they allowed to get to the position that it's the level of incompetency?
The level of incompetence was pretty bad. When I testified there, it was the first grand jury. And this is another thing that she did that I think was done to increase the money. She had two grand juries. Usually you just have one grand jury, but two grand juries is going to cost twice as much as one grand jury,
Right.
which means you can give your boyfriend even more money. So the first grand jury that I went to couldn't indict. All they could do is recommend. And then a second grand jury reviewed the whole thing, called more people, and then they eventually indicted. Well, she indicted everyone, forgot to get them to vote for it, then brought it back and they all voted for it. That alone should have thrown the case out. I mean, that was so irregular. She should have thrown the case.
Are there any other situations where you'd have multiple grand juries in any?
The only time you have multiple grand juries is when a case goes so damn long that a grand jury just can't take it anymore.
Okay.
I mean, they've been there for 4 years, and
So it'd be almost a hung jury.
yeah.
In that,
So you have to
read.
believe it or not, you have to reread everything from the earlier grand jury to the new grand jury.
So safe to say, not super common.
Oh, you don't do it on purpose.
A couple of people have to die off.
The only time you do it on purpose in like a 2-year span is you want to make more money.
Sorry to interrupt, guys, but we just got word that Trump has won Tennessee and Alabama, calling it for Trump. Two more states for Donald Trump.
We have.
He has 288 delegates right now.
So he's won Tennessee by 57%. And he won Alabama by 66%. And he's up in North Carolina with only 9%, counted by 52%.
They've now called for tonight out of the Super Tuesday states, Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Alabama. So that's 4 down, 11 to go.
It's getting very close though. Haley's ahead in Vermont by 1%.
We will say in Vermont
Break
tonight,
themselves.
Haley's
They
ahead.
freeze the counting.
Trump has taken the lead in Vermont.
Yeah.
Again?
Trump has taken the lead away from,
What do you have them up?
but the New York
points?
Times is still predicts
18%.
he will win. Funny.
Of course. Well, if the New York Times says it, it must be true.
Why don't we just call it a night? We'll take all the rest and give her Vermont.
Yeah. Let's go with the Queen Suite.
I know she could go live there.
What
I
a treat for
trade.
me.
I'd trade Vermont for something in the western part of Canada.
I agree.
Yeah.
So to these states here, there are going to be a couple that are going to matter, obviously, come November, right? Really going to matter. North Carolina is one that President Trump won in 2020, but he won it by less than 2%, if I remember. He also won it in 2016, but if I'm not mistaken, Obama won it in 2012 and 2008.
Yep.
So that's going to be one that's really going to matter come November, as well as potentially Virginia. I believe it was about a 7 or 8 point race. I know that there were some irregularities that went on in Virginia in 2020, but that was a single digit race that we'll be reporting tonight as well.
Actually, right now he's up by 32 with 54% in Virginia. That's pretty nice.
So what can you gather from the information you'll get tonight and how that ultimately affects in November? What are you looking at most? Are you looking at voter turnout? You're looking at margin? Are you looking at the geographic parts of the state and say, in Northern Virginia, you'd expect it to be kind of more Haley, right? They don't like a guy who for the last 10 years has been making the case that they need to drain the swamp and maybe reduce some of the jobs that Northern Virginia would be affected
But you
by.
know, in Virginia,
Whereas in the bottom half of Virginia, the southern part of Virginia, that's very similar to Tennessee and West.
yeah, I would say a very good sign for Trump would be if he wins Virginia by 15, 20%. It would mean he's got a much more solid hold on the Republican vote there than he used to have. That would be the kind of thing you would look to. And how are his margins? Or is he? It looks like he's hitting the numbers right now. It looks like he's hitting the numbers that they predicted. 66, 57, 52, 52, 49, 34, 32. And Massachusetts, well, Massachusetts 26. You're not going to tell much of Massachusetts. I think that is, and the enthusiasm level. There's a poll taken today. Enthusiasm level was, what was it, Ted? Do you remember the numbers on the enthusiasm level? They're about 5 to 1.
Supporters in the poll are very enthusiastic to vote for him, and another something like 30 are somewhat enthusiastic. But the important number, half of the voters are very enthusiastic. So 48% of Trump voters very enthusiastic. For Joe Biden, 23%.
You're 23%.
So doubling the enthusiasm gap, which you said, Mayor, is one of the most important numbers.
Yeah, enthusiasm tells you turnout. I mean,
You have folks like Gail King and other Democrats that have come out and they're saying the polls are wrong now, right? The polls are only wrong when they don't like the thing. So you're looking at enthusiasm polls like that, and then you have Democrats saying the polls are wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think we should put all our eggs in one basket and look at these polls as if they. But enthusiasm is, I think, what's most important with something like tonight. But you never say polls are wrong when you're in the lead, right? And then we go back to the last election, and back then they were even saying polls are wrong. 2020, they said polls are wrong. 2016, the polls actually were a bit wrong when it came to.
And they said it was right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but funny how that works.
So I have an interesting thing I wanted to point out. So Letitia James is going to take all this money from Trump if she gets it, right? And usually when you get money in a fraud case like that, hundreds of millions and all, it's to distribute it to all the poor people that lost money, that lost their savings. Well, nobody lost any money here. The banks made money. All this money is going to go to support crooked New York State, which is the most crooked state in the country, with a budget that's the most ridiculously disproportionate. So New York's budget is, larger than Florida's budget, and Florida has 3 million more people. I mean, it's ridiculous. 2 times.
Yeah, it's double.
It's double the budget of Florida.
Yeah.
Florida has 3 million more people. So all that's going to happen is, if, let's say, they take all the money from Trump, it's going to go to pay all those kickbacks, all those bribes.
What about
Even go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
What about all this housing for illegals? Maybe we'll do that.
Exactly. That might very well be part of the MasterCards that they're giving out to illegals.
Yeah.
The MasterCard debit card there.
But I mean,
You're a citizen. That's the problem. If you
Adam's company is making more on that than even the illegals are making. He's paying a company $53
right. And then
million plus 3% of how much they give out in the cards. And here's their job. They're not going to print the cards. They're not going to fund the cards. They're going to go get them from MasterCard. They're basically a card delivery service that's going to make $150 million.
Yeah, and I think initially when those numbers came out, New Yorkers weren't aware that that number was just for that, just for the card delivery part of the equation here.
It's
And also,
I know the contract too.
I don't get the concept of if you give out 150 billion in cards, then the company gets 3%. You don't get 3% of money that you give away. You get 3% of money that you earn. Like if they earned 150 billion, they should get a 3% commission. But if all they do is costing you 150 billion,
Welcome to Banana Coupland.
I mean, something's going on here in crooked New York. Even a prosecutor of every
brand, I
form
think.
of corruption can't figure this out.
Well, Mayor,
You wonder why people are leaving the record numbers, right? I mean, this is another reason why people are saying, hey, look, New York State is not making sense to us. I mean, instead of actually going and trying to figure out how we can make schools more competitive and get reading levels up, get arithmetic, mathematics levels up, instead you're actually doing these no-bid corrupt contracts, which, by the way, this one's coming out of the city, but there are plenty you could look at in the city. So this is
dopey, but she's not that dopey.
This is why people are saying, you know what, New York, as much as we love it, it's not making sense for us right now.
Well, people would ask me, how is it that the budget of New York is like
double the state of Florida?
It's like 220 billion, and Florida is like
240, and
Florida's
Florida is just over 100. It's just over 100.
They want to know why. Why the difference? New York's more corrupt.
Well,
Twice.
It's corruption.
May, did you see her new lawsuit? The AG, she's going after a beef company.
She's got beef with
Right.
beef.
She's using our money, taxpayer money. She's going after a beef company and blaming them for the acceleration of climate change, and she's suing them.
This is real.
That's-
Real news.
That's her new suit.
Is that the California thing?
Yeah.
What is that?
That's a California. Yep.
one.
Yeah.
I got
The
it.
green, the whatever. Yeah. So
Well,
she's going after a beef
Things
company.
really stink in the attorney
Yeah.
general's.
Yeah.
She kicked the NRA out. And the NRA just left.
Yeah.
The NRA did the right thing. They just got up and left and said, screw you.
Yeah. I don't blame them.
Well, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back in corrupt New York.
Celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
We're live.
Back with America's Mayor Live, and we've got a really lively panel discussion. I see on the screen up there, Nikki Haley. It looks like she's got older. See, look. Remember how they say you get older when you become president? She got older just thinking about being president.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So is she gonna? Okay. So now we've got her down in about almost 3/4 of the states. She's getting wiped out, except for Vermont. She's not even within
1.5.
no, her best number other than Vermont is Massachusetts, which is down by 26%.
Oklahoma. They've called Oklahoma for Trump. So that's 5 down.
50% win in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
50%. That's a ridiculous win. The Republican Party is telling her, Nikki, we don't know how to say this to you, but we uniformly don't want you. We do not want you. And we actually think you should go back and take American history and find out the reasons for the Civil War.
I think they were saying that to her weeks ago. I think now they're screaming it.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah. And go figure out the names of those provinces.
Yeah, that would help.
What do you think the motivation then is? If, let's say, the result ends out tonight and let's say Trump switches, or even let's say Haley squeaks out Vermont by 1%, whatever it is.
Oh, it's not going to, yeah.
Like whatever it is, Trump wins every state or wins every single state but one. What then is the message that Haley is sending to the Republican electorate, to the United States, if she decides to continue on with this campaign?
She wants a commentator spot on CNN.
I mean, I feel like it's just
That's the only thing she'll
one at this point if she wants,
Yeah, I mean, they'll take, they took Chris Christie, they'll take her. I mean, she doesn't take up as much room. I mean,
Chris Christie.
they don't have to
two
even
commentators.
It's sponsor.
I think her ambition is a little greater than that. I still think that she thinks she can become president of the United States.
As a Republican?
That's the thing. I mean, at some point she's going to have to start dialing this back with no donors. Maybe not right now, but in the future. And
She only has
continue
donors.
down.
The only donors she had were not for her. They were anti-Trump donors. The
Right.
Koch brothers didn't find her like, wow. Here's Nikki Haley, that great governor who did.
X, Y, and Z. Right.
Is she doing
That's right.
South Carolina? What was it? North Carolina, South Carolina, or was it Dakota? I don't remember.
But I think at some point she's going to have some type of an honest conversation with whoever her loyalists on her team are, if they exist, and they need to go then look at her political future. You know, she is what, at 52, 54 years old. She's still young in politics, right? I mean, there's plenty of potential runs for her. If she was to say, hey, you know what, now is not my time. Let me back off the refrigerator here. I think that moment may have passed already, but you know,
Passed with New Hampshire.
things are, but you know how Trump is in terms of he's happy to get in battles with people and then forgive them. He did this with Ron DeSantis, right? I mean, he was killing Ron DeSantis for a year, and then Ron got out, and you know his wife is wonderful, this and that, and
I think
that
Vivek
exactly
did
return the
it
favor.
the best, the classiest way.
I agree.
He never got in the middle of that feud and
We love
that
Vivek.
mouth thing. Love him. Love Vivek.
We love
Shout out.
Vivek.
Vivek was great.
We got him. We were talking to him in February.
But the way he realized it wasn't his time and stepped away professionally.
Yeah.
He did it classy.
And stepped against these sham
Right.
Would you ever, in the future, would you ever support, has Haley basically turned you off for the future?
Yes, as a female, absolutely.
President, yes. I used to like her when she was ambassador to the
Yeah.
UN, and I think that she's had some really good standpoints before, but I believe she's just a little bit too liberal for me. Not too long ago, she
Or
required
is she pretending to be? I think she's, well, who knows?
She around. Yes.
That's bad enough. That's bad enough, right?
that.
Was she washed her?
So I guess a better question is then, if she continues on, is her motivation even more sinister with regards to Trump than
Third
we
party
even
candidate.
think?
She wants to be a third party candidate. Just to be
That's
spoiled.
the question. Is it a spoiler? Is this a spoiler candidacy then at this point, if she goes in, gets swept tonight, or even squeaks out one state tonight and she's behind by, hundreds and hundreds of delegates, which you
So you're saying
more.
would be the greater motivation here.
What is it? I mean, is that possibly what she's looking at right here?
Could be. I mean, I don't
Grasp it.
know her well enough to be able to figure out her motivation. It's not, I mean, tonight should be the end of it. And I don't think, and good point that you made with Trump. Trump is a guy that, believe it or not, is very forgiving.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's beyond the point, even though I think most people would think she's beyond the point of no return. And with most candidates, she'd be with me.
He had Chinese food in the Oval Office with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. You know, I mean, he's gone with people beyond the pale and forgiven them before. I mean, when they talk about Trump and retribution and this and that, I mean, I think he said it the best. The best retribution is a successful country.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's
So,
really
no,
what
I think
believes, but
this is the point at which she's got to cut it. If she's going to have any hope of a future as a Republican. She goes beyond this, it becomes ridiculous. There's no point to it. She can't possibly get the nomination.
I'm looking at this poll on Washington Post, and it looks like the only states she even has a chance to even win are Massachusetts and Vermont. Everything else, she's gonna get annihilated. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It hasn't started
Yeah,
reporting.
yeah, but they're saying that Massachusetts, Vermont are probably the two states that she even has a slight.
Although the
inkling
exit
of winning.
polls in Massachusetts have them ahead by
Right.
26%, believe it or not.
Right.
That was President Trump. We just turned that off right there.
Haley hasn't backed down yet.
Versus in Virginia, he's up 34 points with 61% of the vote. In North Carolina, he's up 51 points with 26% of the vote in. Two of the swing states there, as you're looking into November and looking into what's this going to mean come November 5th. Those are two pretty telling ones, as Virginia and North Carolina are two states that are in the purple columns, if you will. One which Trump won in 2020, North Carolina. One which Biden won in 2020, which was Virginia. Tennessee also, Trump up 60 points, 9% of the vote in. Oklahoma, Trump up 60 points, 6% of the vote in. Alabama, Trump up 65 with 1% of the vote in. I guess that means that there are maybe 3 people in Alabama that have voted for Haley so far.
By mistake.
Yeah.
A mistake vote.
That probably were mistake.
The mistake vote. So, the border now is, the estimate is that Biden will be responsible for, and this is going to be official, 8 million illegals coming in during his presidency, and an additional 1.8 million registered gotaways. So that's 9.8 million. Now, but that doesn't count we never saw them.
Do they throw a party at the White House when they reach 10 million? How does that work?
Well, they're almost at 10 million.
Yeah.
Because if you take the 8 plus the 1.8,
They get ice cream.
you're at 9.8.
Of course.
And the group that's the most interesting of all and the most dangerous of all is the third group that you never saw. So you categorize them this way: the group that comes in that you've registered in some way. A few have been sent back. Most of them we've kept and put on parole.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going around raping people, beating people, killing people. Then there's the gotaways. We almost got them. We can register a male, a female, but nothing else beyond that. A non-binary, who knows what? Who knows what pronoun you can put down for that? A something. We saw a something. But we saw 1.8 million of those somethings. But the really dangerous ones are the ones you never got to see.
That third group.
Because remember, the Mexican cartels are running this thing.
Yeah.
So they're real high value people.
Yeah.
They're bringing while you're paying attention to the ones you register in the gotaways, they're bringing in the really high value ones. Like the military aged Chinese, the Chinese government might give them 10 grand a person,
Another
20 grand a person.
Democratic tactic: distract, while something else is going on.
Or the ones involved in high level human trafficking.
Yeah.
And on top
Like a lot of kids, not just a few kids, like a whole bunch of little babies. You know, the human trafficking is making more money than the drugs now. That's a disgrace. And we now lead the world in human trafficking. The United States of America abuses children more than any other country per capita.
That's a story that I don't care what your political affiliation is.
Right.
I don't care who your candidate is. I don't care where you fall on any political issue. You're a human being with a heart. This is something that the leftist media, the conservative media, whoever it is, everybody should be reporting this, because this is unconscionable. This is happening in the United States of America.
it's really stomach churning that the one time the hashtag Me Too feminists don't care about women is when it comes to the women who were raped by Hamas and all the women, all the young girls who are being trafficked here into this country. Oh, they don't care. They just turn a blind eye. Oh, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Why?
There's no worldwide social media.
Why?
posts or black
Why? What
Twitter
happens?
that-
I've never understood it.
Because it points out the biggest vulnerability of Joe Biden in 2024, which is the southern border. And I honestly think that Democrats have made this calculation and said, you know what? These are long-term voters that we're letting in. So we're going to overlook the fact that children are getting trafficked to the degree that they are. And that's how evil this is. And that's how important, by the way, when we talk about saving the country and saving our constitutional republic, Democrats say saving our democracy. This is about saving Western civilization at this point. That's really
Will be taken down two ways: through the inside, young people turning against their country, woke schools, young people being taught right now that Osama bin Laden was great, actually, and then by allowing thousands, hundreds of thousands of people to come in here illegally, as you mentioned, as Caitlin mentioned, military aged men. And on top of that, a couple of hundred terrorists, people on the terrorist watch list, have come into this country identified.
He's going to have to, I mean, this is going to be very hard. It's hard to do. You have to deport people. You've never really had a quite. So I became Associate Attorney General after what was the worst up until then.
the Mariella boat.
The Mariel boat lift and the Haitian 100,000 illegal Haitians a month were coming in and being left on the shores of southern Florida. And every 10th boat or so would sink and dead bodies would show up. And we turned that around in about 6 or 8 months. But we're going to have to not only turn it around, we're going to have to deport.
Oh,
We
yeah.
can't absorb these 10, who knows what it is? It could be 12 million, 13. We can't absorb these 13 million people. Plus, compared to that group, this is like all Marielitos. I mean, who knows how many of them are criminals?
The fact that
It's a much more criminal element.
They're banking on actually starting their families here, right?
Yeah.
Why is that rule even in place? If you're born here, that you're automatically a citizen.
Well, it should be changed.
I
mean,
think
it should be.
that's a lot of the motivation for some of these people coming over.
I think there's a whole host of motivations. I think, unfortunately, a much higher percentage than ever before are just plain out and out criminals of one kind or another.
Right.
They're human traffickers, they're drug dealers, they're terrorists, they're thieves, they're sexual perverts, or they're people that were let out of nut houses.
But look at the incentive they have. Look at the incentive they have to come over. You can't even really blame them.
In New York, I can't afford to live in New York. I have to commute still. But you can just stay at the Watson Hotel, the
And you
Roosevelt.
get your $1,000
Yeah.
debit card.
Exactly.
And to your point here, you look at Venezuela, you could look at the crime statistics in Venezuela over the last year, lowest it's been in 15 years.
Ridiculous.
And when you look at the migration and where it's flowing in from here in the United States of America, we're dealing with a lot of single male Venezuelans
Yeah.
that we've had more and more intelligence reporting is actually coming from the criminal justice system, convicted in Venezuela, letting out, very similar to, like you said, the Mariella boat lift in
Yeah.
the
This is
early 1980s.
an FBI agent was interviewed a couple of weeks ago, and he said there are 4 or 5 Latin American countries are following the lead of Maduro and emptying out their nut houses. I mean, it isn't just the prisons; it's the criminally insane.
Trump is a terrible person for pointing that out years ago.
Oh, he's a
Yeah. I mean, he actually.
Mexico's not sending their best. How do we disagree with a statement?
Wasn't too harsh.
It's Trump style.
Correct.
there.
I want to go on a little bit of a tangent here, though, because I'm just kind of adding a few things up in my mind. Call me a little slow. It took me 38 years to figure this out. But the Mariella boat lift, did you go down and were you interviewed by my mother when you were doing the case of the Mariella boat lift?
That's why you're here.
So I really need to thank Fidel Castro for me being alive on this earth, because had he not released
You're right.
all those prisoners with the Mariella
I
boat lift,
spent.
you would not have gone down to
Well,
Florida.
it was a combination. It was a combination of
Would not have happened.
It was a combination of the Mariel boat lift and the Haitian migration.
You know,
Andrew thought
there we go.
time to get to the bottom.
How do you feel about this border crisis now? I might have to go to the Biden camp now thinking of this. No, I think you don't have to worry about it.
Well, I want to show this. Can I show this? Can I show my little
Yeah.
my little cartoon here?
Has permission, check.
And I'll show everybody here.
What do we got here?
Is that on? Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want me to read it out, or you're going to show it to the,
Yeah, you
to the
can read it
camera
out.
here? It's good. It's good.
I see. Can they see it, Ted? A team of doctors. KJ. Can anybody imitate KJP? A team of doctors evaluated the president and decided he does not need a cognitive test. And the reporter says, and have those doctors had their eyes examined?
The doctors are Jill Biden.
He doesn't need a cognitive test.
Walking up the steps, or
So-
walking on stage.
Andrew, do you remember Cassidy Hutchinson?
I do remember Cassidy Hutchinson.
Now,
Yes.
Cassidy Hutchinson is being sued by Bobolinsky now.
Right.
And she's being sued by Bobolinsky because she claims that Bobolinsky and Meadows were involved in some kind of I don't know what.
Some type of an exchange at one of the Trump campaign rallies is what she's claiming, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Correct.
And now
Exchange
I have,
of
you know, of course,
documents for information.
I'm sure she's lying because she's completely lying about me.
The
Completely, on two things.
Yeah.
Completely making it up. And honestly, Andrew, I don't recognize her.
Yeah. No, she came in the last 6 months of the administration. I would say she was mostly inconsequential. She was Mark Meadows' secretary, so she was in that position. So she did have access to the West Wing and the Oval Office. But I can tell you, having talked to, let's just take one of the lies there that she said, which was Trump reached over the beast, the presidential limousine, to try to go and wrestle the steering wheel out of the Secret Service,
Right.
who's, by the way, a former special forces guy's hands, and then was cursing everybody out in order to go to the Capitol on January 6th. I can tell you, having had the privilege of being in that vehicle, it's not physically possible
Oh, right,
for him to
yeah.
do that. There's
Yeah.
no way for him to actually be able to do that, even if he wanted to, which, by the way, we know the guy. And maybe he did want to go there. Maybe he did ask. Maybe even said a curse word. There's no way that he would lunge at somebody who was protecting him like that. Just a
Right.
complete out and out lie. And then a lie she's told about you, I might even been with you at the time. They're not possible.
And no, it's
Impossible.
not possible for a couple of reasons. First of all, I would have to have bent all the way over. My knees don't permit me to do that. And then I would have to have put my hand, up her dress and her coat.
Yeah, it was.
I would have to have gone down on my knees and put my hand up her in a coat with about 100 people around, including Dr. Maria and about 4 of the women who work for
Look,
me.
this was to sell books. That's exactly why she did this. This to become
In front of
left-wing darling.
Christina Bob.
And she is completely not only disingenuous, but a complete liar.
And she made that one up. Interesting thing is,
She had an inconsequential role in the White House. She only had access because she was Meadows' secretary, and she continues to
Well, I
make
hope-
things
hope,
up
but
as if she was consequential.
he's filling up for 10 million, and I hope he gets it. She lied about me under oath about she claimed that I left the White House one night with her and had a conversation. And I don't know, said some things about Sidney Powell or what. I don't remember what it is that I said to her. I never left the White House with her. In fact, you picked me up the night that she claimed that I walked out actually with Mark Meadows that night. I've never walked with her at all. The second one she did not say under oath. The second one she saved for her book. And I know how that happens. That's the publisher saying, nobody's going to read this piece of crap. We got to put some garbage in. So she made that one up. And I think the book sold 14 copies. So let's not give it any more attention.
That's right. Let's not give it any more attention. And she's about to find out. I think she may think that the Democrat Party and all this work she's been putting in to smear Trump and the mayor and others will somehow get her some sort of protection. She's about to find out just how dispensable she is to that side, to those people.
They don't want our rats.
Yeah.
This is worth a $483 million.
Right.
case, right?
There's no way that book made 10 million. She's
The way the Democrat, and if you're gonna turn on him, you're gonna turn on us.
Yeah.
Once
She's done.
Always a rat. We'll take a break on that.
Yeah, that's what's so sad about
Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. So we're back with America's Mayor Live. So where we are, the ones that have been called right now with check marks are Oklahoma, 63% Trump. Tennessee, 55% Trump. North Carolina, 50% Trump. Maine, 46% Trump. And Virginia, with 70% of the vote cast, 30% Trump. Massachusetts, just 1% in. And
Maine's only
Vermont,
4%.
Haley is ahead by 2.4%, which is the only place that she is leading or has a chance to win.
Yeah, that state might be close.
Then we'll have to see. The interesting thing is
Well, I think that's a great point. We're all political junkies here, and you need something to watch, right?
Forgot.
Yeah, it's like watching a football game, Mayor, where it's over in the first quarter.
By the way, just to also point out, I don't want to say how inconsequential Vermont is because we don't want to say that. But
well, if Dr. Maria was here, he'd say that.
If you look at all of the states that are out there tonight and all the delegates that are out there, Vermont has the least amount of delegates on the table, right? Texas,
Right.
161 delegates. North Carolina, 74 delegates. California, 169 delegates. Vermont has 17. Maine has 20. And then Alaska has 29. Everything else is 39 or higher. So even if Haley is able to pull out Vermont by a point or two, you're talking about Haley at 10 delegates, Trump at 7, and then Trump is going to win hundreds of delegates on the other 16 states basically tonight. So let's keep that in perspective. Even if she does win a state, it is the least consequential from a delegate perspective on the table tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So the
But
Arizona
it's mathematics, and math they've told me is racist recently. So I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Sorry, 2 plus 2 is racist. Right. Very racist. Very racist.
It's counting.
Yes.
So Arizona District Attorney for Maricopa County is refusing to return a alleged murderer to Mr. Bragg, and this is a guy, Al Mansouri, who is alleged to have committed murder in New York. He also committed a number of violent crimes in Arizona, and they're going to try him for those crimes in Arizona because she doesn't trust Bragg. The judge has upheld her. And now the only way that Bragg can get her is if the governor, Katie Hobbs, who is a left-wing yo-yo, waives it and sends the guy to Bragg. So we'll have to see if that happens. But I think everybody in New York would say, keep him in Arizona.
Yeah, ladies, if you want to weigh in, I certainly have my opinions on it. I mean, I'm happy to. What do you? I'll go. I'll start with a hot potato here. When I look at, first off, I think it's the absolute right move by this prosecutor in Arizona because you don't know if ultimately this defendant, this alleged murderer, is going to be held accountable in New York. In Arizona, you know, at least this person is going to be locked up pending their trial, and you're not going to have to worry about him being released and then fleeing the state potentially, as he did in New York, right? Case in point, right? There's your situation there. But from a political perspective, we would all look at Hobbs and say, well, you know, pretty far left, had her issues as Secretary of State, which we can get into and
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about.
yeah.
But in an election year, would she release somebody who is a potential murderer in her home state? That is a real political hot potato that I think even some of the moderate Democrats in Arizona, if there are any, right? But
No,
independents
Mar-
can
Arizona.
say, this is crazy. This is really, really a problem. So you got to look at it also from a political standpoint right now, as well as from a criminal justice standpoint too.
Yeah. I don't think she'll do it. It'd be stupid to do it.
Andrew raises a really good point. One of two of the main issues that are really driving people who voted for Biden, who didn't vote for Republican before, it's crime and illegal immigration.
Mhm.
That's the two easy issues where it doesn't matter on what end of the political spectrum you are. Who wants to let a murder on the loose? And people with common sense, people who've never voted Republican in their lives, they're seeing our country allowing legal aliens, terrorists, our leaders in New York letting criminals on, not just thieves, not just petty criminals, but actual murderers out of jail to commit murder again. And then you see the case with Lake and Riley, where it included the lax on crime laws and the open border policies. Those two issues put together.
What worries me, though, how easily they were able to sweep that story under the rug. So if Hobbs were to do this and something went wrong, they would be able to sweep this under the rug. But to your point, also, we're seeing that in New York. And you alluded to this not being a red versus blue issue, right? When I do my men on the street interviews, I know Andrew loves.
Run into you.
Right here in New York, talking to parents, they don't care. They don't see this as a Republican versus Democratic issue. They're so frightened now for their kids' safety. Walking on the streets, they don't feel it's safe anymore. So safety has become that number one priority. And I think we'll be able to see Democrats actually looking at policies here and maybe voting Republican when it comes to an issue of safety. But it does worry me. I love that you brought up Lake and Riley, because look how easily they were able to sweep that story under the rug when it was due to their own corrupt policy.
Let me ask you then, because I've seen you do these man on the street interviews for your time in New York here, which how long have you been in New York now? 2 years?
Ooh, as a reporter, 5 years.
5 years. Okay. 5 years as a reporter. What's the transformation? What's the change been like for you? The last time I saw you doing a man on the street interview was probably 6-8 weeks ago, and it was right by the City Hall subway station, probably about 300 feet from America's mayor's former office, now where our current mayor sits. And I can tell you, having lived by that subway stop for the last 2.5 years, even the last 2.5 years, you can see a complete difference. How different is New York City now, considering all the time that you've spent on the street interviewing New Yorkers?
Oh, you see tremendously different. No, the first, I guess, the most drastic change I've noticed is people off the record, when the mic's on in front of them, will whisper that they're voting for Trump.
Right.
It's like, can you calm down?
Yep.
Why are we whispering here? I've actually caught that on camera.
Yeah.
So you go to Bryant Park's one of my favorite spots, diverse people, Times Square, of course, City Hall, and on their way to work, I'll stop them.
Mhm.
People will be in a rush, and just a quick, who are you voting for? Are you voting? Moms,
Yep.
strollers, always stop moms, parents, even the nannies know what's going on.
Mhm.
Everyone is aware right now of the crime issues. And it's funny because they're afraid. Big change. People are so afraid to actually say how they feel, to speak about these issues, and to say who they're supporting and who they vote for.
Yeah.
People are so afraid. I guess I talked to a lot of parents. As I mentioned, they're afraid of being canceled or censored. They're afraid that their kids are going to get mad at them for speaking on camera.
Wow.
That was not happening 3 years ago.
Job.
There's this,
Job.
yes,
Right.
there's this huge level in this country right now.
Mhm.
Of course, we're talking here in New York, but there's this huge level of fear in this country right now of being deplatformed,
Mhm.
canceled. The censorship is out of control. So that's the major change. But can you believe off the record, people will whisper, "Oh, I'm voting for Trump."
Yeah.
Why can't you say that on Twitter?
I actually do believe it, but it frightens the hell out of me. But I do remember going all the way back to 16.
Mhm.
I had this guy who used to hang out at the Grand Havana room with me. And he came over to me. I was only there a little bit during 16 because I was traveling so much.
Yeah.
But when I was there, he would grab me and ask me questions about the campaign. And he told me I'm going to vote for Trump. I said, well, that's great. But I'm not going to tell my wife. I said, why? He said, because my wife will kill me if I vote for Trump. She hates him. So then the election was over. About 3-4 weeks later, I saw him again. I said, "What? How'd you do?"
Divorce.
No. He said, I actually voted for Hillary."
Oh.
Get out of here.
I said, "Why?" He said, I didn't want to vote. I didn't want to lie to my wife." This is the guy who had been cheating on his wife.
Oh, great.
Actually, all jokes aside, that is sentiment.
His girlfriend into the Grand Havana room. He was having an affair with this girl. He was lying to his wife about the mistress, but he wouldn't lie about Trump. I said that to him. I said, "Well, you lie to her about Maisie here."
Sounds like it legitimately is deplorable. Sounds like a real deplorable, actually. To me.
And it goes the sentiment of the fear, though. I mean,
We're afraid.
With that.
So here's another beauty about why another one of the cases against Trump should be dismissed. So it turns out that remember when Biden when they brought out all the stuff about how Biden had mishandled all the classified documents and her basically made a case against him, almost like Hillary, where he should have been president.
You're not supposed to have classified documents next to somebody who's addicted to crack cocaine, who has a way of making money by getting said information to foreign governments and making a personal fortune.
No,
is that
you're not supposed to do it, but if you can't remember, so he's now blamed it on his staff, right? He says, I didn't really package this up. My staff did. Do you know who his staff was? His staff was personally selected by Hunter Biden. One of them is a lady named Chung, Kathy S. Chung, who was recommended for the job after working with Hunter for a number of years, both at the Commerce Department and in the crooked business that they have.
sounds about right.
And in 2012, she became his number one person, the person who handled all his personal stuff. And she was the custodian of all of his White House records. And then the other one was another woman who worked with him at the company that he had with the Secretary of State's stepson. He trained her as well. So these two people were trained by Hunter. And one of them is named Cassie S. Chung, and the other is Anne Marie Muldoon Pearson, who worked at Rosemont Seneca Partners, which was the key pass-through for the foreign wire payments for, this
person worked at Rosemont Seneca, but also was employed by the Office of the Vice Presidency?
Yeah, and then he moved around to the Office of the Vice Presidency. Yeah.
Putting Hunter Biden on pause here. Alabama has been called 1% of the vote, but he is up. Trump is up by 66 as a.
You should come talk.
That's like 23% of the vote in President Trump
46.
now leads in Vermont. And how interesting if you're Nikki Haley or her campaign tonight. Imagine sitting there and you're like waiting on Vermont. That's your campaign tonight.
So here's, I mean, here,
Yeah.
but here are the places they put the documents. So when they remove the documents, they put them in the Penn Biden Center in DC, which is funded almost entirely by Red China, to which Hunter Biden has VIP access. And Kathy Chung, his mentee, close friend with whom he has maintained a very close relationship, had complete access to all of the documents, and so did the Chinese. The second group of documents were put in another center in Washington with Stinkin' Blinken, which is a foreign policy institute, which is also funded by China. Some of the documents are in Chinatown. You go, what's that's all about in Chinatown. And then the remaining documents, one that Andrew was talking about, which are the ones that you see when you look at the car.
Yeah. And his beach.
And you see all the documents just floating out all over the place. Now, I want you to think about that. Hunter Biden used that car about 300 times when those documents were there. Hunter Biden was the partner of the spy chief of China. So the partner of the spy chief of China passed those documents 300 times.
Right.
Every single document so far that I can account for, China had access to. Now tell me one document of Trump's that any foreign government had access to.
Could you imagine if Donald Trump Jr. or Eric Trump was driving a vehicle, just flip the script here, what they would do?
Yep. And they haven't made $1 off of any type of classified information that they may have given to a foreign country, to China.
It's a country they're indebted to the tune of at least $30 million. It's foreign classified material put in all places that China has peculiar access to. And her does nothing to investigate that. But her doesn't investigate that. I mean, I was a prosecutor. That cries out for investigation. Otherwise, you're a damn crook.
Because our justice is.
Get to the bottom of that. You get to the bottom of, hey, why does China come up in every one of the, gee, I don't have to be, Charlie Chan to figure out why China comes up. Do you know what Charlie Chan is?
I might be a little too young for that.
You might know who Charlie Chan is. Charlie Chan was a early movie detective series. He was a Chinese guy who used to solve crimes. It was black and white. It was called Charlie Chan. His Charlie Chan. I'm getting my signals.
I thought I misheard. I thought somebody was asking who's Charlie Chaplin. We all know Charlie Chaplin. You meant Charlie Chan.
Hold on.
All Nikki Haley needs is a balance of nature, and then
balanced nature.
She'll remember why the Civil War started if she takes balance of nature. That's right.
What?
That's it. You know it.
What's that?
I said she'll remember why the Civil War started if she takes balance of nature.
have a Snickers bar commercial.
That's right.
I'm trying to enroll her in my next semester history course that I'm going to give.
History with
Balance of nature. Now,
No, history morons.
By balance of nature.
just be sure to use that promo code when you go to balanceofnature.com. Promo code Rudy. That way, you're not only doing yourself a favor, your body, your mind, maybe someone you love, but you're also supporting everything the mayor is doing here and the whole team on America's Mayor Live. So it's really it's great for your own health, and it's great for the country's health. And you're supporting the mayor and this whole incredible team here and everything that we're doing on America's Mayor Live.
How much percent do they get off, Ted?
35% off.
Heard of numbers.
That's even
That's
more.
more than Nikki Haley will win delegates tonight. That's right, guys. That's right.
But if you're out there voting for Nikki, you could, we still want you to go, get yourself some balance of nature.
That's right.
What did
Extra if you're out there voting.
What did Michael Jordan say about shoes? something about like Republicans wear them too, right? They got mad at Michael Jordan once for not endorsing a
Democrat.
candidate. Yeah.
Well, now we have Trump sneakers. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nikki Haley voters, get out there and get your balance of nature.
That's right. But use the promo code Rudy.
Haley voters watching tonight.
Yeah.
If you're a Haley voter, please, make yourself known in the comments.
Yeah.
And why? And comment
Yeah.
and why are you supporting Nikki?
very.
And where
Relative to the campaign, like why are you supporting Nikki tonight?
and where do you live? Actually,
That, do it. We tried.
post your address to where you are because we want to know. Yeah. we want to know where you live if you're a Nikki
No, because
Haley.
we're going to send you tissue.
Right. We're gonna send you a balance of nature. We're gonna send you balance of nature.
Yeah, you need a little balance of something. In here.
You know, I have the New York Times list here, and they
Yeah.
just will not change Vermont.
Well, there's two, right?
No, they're keeping. They keep. Well, yeah, they.
Trump is 1.5%, but the margin they're expecting Haley to win by 2%. So Trump is in the margin.
Popcorn. They need to enjoy something.
Well, yeah.
But they have it at 43%.
Washington Post says 48%. Trump is still up by about a half a
But
percent.
it's-
Yeah.
Come, as Andrew said,
Yeah.
if you go to the Times website, current reported margin, Trump up 1.5 points, and that's increasing ever so slightly. And if
Anyway.
you look at their estimated outcome, Nikki Haley's still taking Vermont.
By how much?
Better election trackers than the New York Times and is that the AP? I guess that ultimately is done.
Yeah.
We got to have somebody's got to be a better election tracker.
Right?
Can somebody work on that in the next 7 or 8 months?
No, that'd be a good business, right?
It's I can't believe that I'm giving
Yeah.
the New York Times is getting
But
clicks.
as Andrew
Sure.
said, I mean, they are the
There it
ones
is.
to go to.
There's one that says 49-47 Trump.
So
56% of the
we're
voting.
staying on extra tonight. Welcome
That's
to
it.
soccer time. We call it
That's in
soccer
Vermont.
time because we're not quite sure how long we'll go, but on this Super Tuesday. And of course, some states are simply just closing now. For example,
Colorado.
in Minnesota, the polls closed at 9 p.m. Eastern, right? Because in Minnesota, it's 8 p.m. Central time. And of course, Colorado and Utah, they're not closing until 10 p.m. Eastern because that's in the mountain time zone on the West Coast, of course, 11 p.m.
No, Colorado.
Let's put this in perspective here too, right? I mean, because we've been focused on Vermont because it's the one that's somewhat competitive here. The Trump up 1.5 points with 48% vote in. But for every single other state that has double digits reported, here are the numbers. Virginia with 84% of the vote in, Trump is up 28 points. North Carolina with 54% of the vote in, Trump is up 51 points. That's going to be a swing state. Those two are going to be swing
Yeah,
states,
that's
right?
true.
Oklahoma, 49% of the vote in, Trump up 68 points. Texas, 44% of the vote is in, Trump is up 57 points. Tennessee, 28% of the vote in, Trump up 53. Maine, 16% of the vote in, Trump up 47. Arkansas, 10% of the vote in, Trump up 46. So when you look at the states that have had double digits reporting, outside of Vermont, Trump's smallest lead is 28 points.
And Colorado just closed. Trump
It's a
up 15
Big.
right now with 28% in.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah.
Indeed, a silent majority.
Well, I got Colorado 32%,
Closet Republican.
It's probably reflecting. Yeah.
28% lead.
So yeah, he's getting up. Let's keep going up.
And Colorado is another state that's a
Did you get Mar-a-Lago tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
There goes.
You can see a little of it there.
right. in front of-
73-22. Where in Texas? Oh gosh.
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago looks very lively. I see a lot of red hats.
A lot of "Make America Great Again"
Yeah.
hats.
And then, of course, we have
How many Haley people at Mar-a-Lago I'm going to venture to say? It's just, I'm going to put that on a list. Probably more potential of an illegal migrant at Mar-a-Lago than there is a Haley supporter. That's just a guess right here.
I got to show you this picture of Cassidy Hutchinson because she looks like a saint. Look at that. Ted, put that picture up. Look at that picture. Look at how she's looking up like a saint.
Who is that?
face.
Look at that.
Oh, that's Cassidy.
That's the
I mean, that would work when you're younger and cuter. I don't know. I think
Haley can say that.
Hear
Haley
that.
can say that.
I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna take a picture like that.
Yeah. Looking up. That's amazing.
Now after all, and this is Letitia James. She
Two, three,
she
four.
can't fake it. She's just annoyed. No, that's a
No.
man. Oh man. Wow.
Uh,
And we have a Republican candidate or endorsed by the Republican Party for the Senate who donated to her.
Yes, we do.
Are we wacky?
It is, it's very disappointing when you look at this. The fact that you've got a candidate nominated by the GOP party bosses
Yeah.
who gave $1,000 to Letitia James within the last 2 years. Letitia James had gone out time and time again saying that she was going to get Trump. She had her man, and then she was going to find a crime. Does that sound like the United States of America, or does that sound like the Soviet Union for you? Because that's the Soviet Union right there. Incidentally, here in New York, you've got the party bosses that think it's okay to have your Senate candidate be the person that's underwriting that un-American stuff that's coming out of our Justice Department.
He also contributed to the assemblyman who was responsible for all of the disaster with bail reform.
Yes.
The Democrat.
And by the way, the timing of that as well. The New York State Assembly passed bail reform on April 1st, 2019. Sapricone ended up donating to Todd Kaminsky, the author of bail reform, on April 5th, 2019. That's 4 days after bail reform passed the Assembly. This is somebody who honestly is disqualified.
Actually came in at just the right time.
Republican candidate. A Republican candidate. Maybe this person should run as a Democrat. Maybe he wants to primary Gillibrand. Go ahead, because that's what that sounds more like than being a Republican here.
Also,
We can't continue.
Also, a $10,000 contribution to Andrew Cuomo,
After bail reform was passed,
and a $30-something thousand contribution
$37,000 to Tom Suozzi.
to Tom Suozzi,
Yeah.
and a zero contribution to Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
Take a
What kind of party is that? But it's the same problem of trying to have a party in which the bosses pick the candidate, and you don't have a primary. And the way you build a party is by having a primary.
100%. Get the ideas out there. Let the candidates present what is their vision for New York, and then we'll see. We'll see ultimately if New Yorkers believe, or New York Republicans believe, that they want somebody who's underwriting this evil that's happening in our justice system, or if they want somebody that's going to have maybe more conservative credentials, maybe somebody who has stood with some of the most persecuted conservatives over the last 4 years, like our January 6th defendants.
Right.
Like that.
Doesn't this speak to the
That seems to me somebody that I would want in a foxhole, that I would want in Congress, because we've seen way, way, way too many wishy-washy Republicans. Call them
Snakes,
Republicans,
yeah.
call them Democrats. I basically call them people that that are snakes or would stab us in the back, and that look at our Constitution and laugh.
Hmm?
We don't need any more of those. We don't need it.
only people with chutzpah from now on.
Yeah.
the Republicans all the time. Look at how loyal the Democrats. If we took George Santos and he was a Democrat and we flipped the script there, they would never have
Nothing
gotten
would
rid of him.
happen.
Yeah.
So Republicans actually need to come together here and look at each candidate. We need to look at the policies. But we need to bond together. We're so divided within the party, and that's how we keep losing. So and we see this all the time. Go ahead.
As you were saying, this is what's so important about tonight's Super Tuesday, is that even if you're that one person I know who supports Nikki Haley,
Having a pizza party of one.
exactly. Are you seriously going to let this childish ideology, oh, well, orange man bad, Trump says mean things on Twitter, versus someone who he's senile, he's basically a puppet run by people who wants to destroy all of Western civilization. They're letting They're letting entirely different multiple countries invade us right now. They're letting your children be put at the risk of getting brutally murdered, God forbid, sexually assaulted, injured, cut up by like how we saw at Lake and O'Reilly, indoctrinated, being told that they're multiple genders. Are you seriously going to let that happen to your kids? Are you seriously going to let our country turn itself inside out because you don't like someone's mean tweets? It's we can't afford to become an outpost of the CCP. We can't. America is and has always been the last bastion of freedom in this world, the last resort for freedom, and that will be no longer. So we need to, just like the left is very unified, as Caitlin mentioned, we need to band together. You don't have to agree on everything, but we need to support someone who will turn America back to the free country that it was before.
And Mayor,
Yes.
so kind of what is your reaction to this? I mean, Justine makes a very good point with that. And so kind of discuss the importance of being unified as a party. I mean, you're the last Republican to, I mean, Bloomberg's Bloomberg, but really, right, the way you won as mayor of the city of New York as a Republican, we haven't seen leadership since then. And I know Bloomberg's a complicated question, but as kind of the person who has more experience than anyone, bringing the party together, winning a big race as a Republican in New York, can you kind of discuss the importance of being unified and what it takes to win in New York?
It takes believing in the same thing. And I mean, actually, if these people don't believe in the same thing, go join some other political party. I mean, if you're going to support someone who believes in bail reform, go join a different political party. This political party, the Republican Party, should be a party that is pro law and order. And we've got our wish. Karen Castronova, who is a candidate, who is a 100% America First candidate, a 100% MAGA candidate, a absolutely superbly talented a journalist who has dedicated a good deal of what she's doing to January 6th, one of the real experts on January 6th, and someone who represents the kind of views that would bring the Republican Party together, the views that are leading to Donald Trump getting 70-80% of the vote. I know there's the complication that Trump endorsed Sapricone, but I happen to know he did it because they gave him one fact and told him it was a mistake. And so we'll have to see what happens with that. But that was just terrible staff work. And a couple of people have said, well, we can't go against it because Trump made the endorsement. Well, I know Trump long enough that I can go against it. And in this particular case, he was misled. He was misled, terribly misled, because this guy does not belong in the Republican Party, and she sure as heck does.
Thank you so much, Rudy.
I mean, you're exactly what we need. You fight for the things that we believe in, and we don't need the kind of craziness where. Here's what drove me nuts when I was representing him. The Democrats were united in being crooked.
Right.
We couldn't be united in being honest.
Right.
We couldn't be united in being honest. I mean, I would go to a state legislature and they really had cheated. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on with Fannie quite contrary now, right? You realize how crooked that county is. That county is crooked from. It was something they did about 5 years ago that was honest, but that's it.
Right.
It would be impossible for Fulton County to not cheat in an election. They wouldn't feel right about themselves if they did. And for everyone to go crazy, oh, you're saying that Atlanta cheated. What's new? Pennsylvania, Philadelphia does all the time. I mean, Chicago probably cheated in 2020. They didn't have to. They did it for practice.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, in case one of these days they may have to cheat again. So, why we can't remain united when what we're standing for are the right things?
And I think it's important to weed that out in a primary. And that's all I wanted was a primary, a fair chance to tell the American people and the New Yorkers and the voters who I am, the same way Andrew, your son, wanted to do with the gubernatorial race. And it's frustrating when there's a party that ices out candidates and that makes it impossible or attempts to make it possible for them to run. But I'm running anyway. I'm going to get the signatures necessary. So many people are behind me and supporting me. And that tells me a lot. I think that the people in New York are fed up with the party picking candidates, and New York deserves representation in Washington, D.C. that represents the New York people.
Yeah, no, and that's the only way you can build a party. You build a party by people being able to participate, people feeling that their voice is heard, people feeling like the party leaders are just representatives of them, not dictators to them. And the New York Republican Party, I mean, I was shocked when I went to the convention when Andrew was a nominee, because I was used to a party in which we would give the arguable candidates 25% of the vote.
Right,
So even if the party would select a candidate,
right.
the party would say, well, this is our designated candidate. If we had 2 or 3 other legitimate Republicans, the party has a rule where you can take a second vote and give them 20%.
Right, and there could be a
Vote
primary.
and we did it all the time. Did it all the time during Rockefeller and Javits and when we controlled the state.
And now it's like a coronation.
Yeah. So
It's
that we could
really-
have a real primary, so that we could have a primary. And the real feeling was, particularly like a guy like this who really isn't even, we shouldn't even discuss him, but he's really like more or less a first-time candidate. You need to practice. You need it. You need the primary. The primary is important to sharpening your skills in the election. And for a Republican, where we're going up against the grain, we need the extra.
Of course, it's like sparring and boxing. I know that Andrew did a great job at the debate with Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin did much better in the general election
Absolutely.
as a result of the training he had in that primary.
No question about it. Anybody who came out of that primary was going to come out better as a result of having been in those debates. They also got a little more attention. And look, Republicans have to stand on their head to get attention in New York. The Times isn't going to pay attention, and the news isn't going to pay attention.
It's also something you hear from voters, though. They don't, first of all, feel like they belong to either party, and they
Right.
don't get to hear from the candidate. So
Right.
it affects voter turnout.
And people wonder why Republicans are misunderstood and they
Right.
don't know who we are in New York, that we're regular, normal people.
Right.
You know, they demonize us, put some of us on a stage and let us talk about the issues and like give us a platform. It's almost like it's controlled opposition at this point.
When you look at the condition of New York City and New York State, and you look at the fact that we've had Democratic governors now for 20 years.
Mhm.
Pataki is about 20 years ago. And yeah. And if she makes it, she'll be the first one to make it to the end of a term, without going out on a scandal. Right. Well, Cuomo got through his first term. He went out on a scandal in his second. Right. But I mean, the last 2 Democratic elected governors went out on a scandal. Right. We'll just give you an idea what a crooked party it is. Their Speaker of the Assembly went to federal prison, died there.
We can't even get answers as to why every aide or assistant for the New York mayor, Eric Adams, is being investigated. They keep saying, oh, they're not close to the mayor. There's no ties here. But
No, but they used to be close. They used to be close to the mayor before they got. One was his chief fundraiser. What was his absolute chief fundraiser and was his constant companion.
and they have their homes raided. They're being investigated, but New Yorkers have no answers.
And
Yeah.
And everyone here is from New York or New Jersey. I'm not. And I can tell you, it's not like this everywhere. It's like how New York does, or even New Jersey was there.
Tell me that Michigan is nice and straight.
I'm not saying there. I'm not saying that, but the process to get on the ballot, right, for a primary, it seems it's
Your legislature has quite a bit of losers.
no look,
Even on the
not
Republican
disagree.
side.
But what I'm saying is the primary process where these party chairs choose the nominees. It's not like that. In a lot of other places that I've worked or been. So I think it's interesting. It's just so, that these just such a select few people choose there's other ways to get on the ballot, of course, as Kara's going to do, but
the signature process is, as Andrew knows, and Rudy, is very difficult. Then they contest your signatures. They get lawyers to try to throw them out.
Yeah.
And this whole month, I'm going to be collecting signatures when I could be fundraising, I could be campaigning, I could be doing media, but I'm completely consumed by the signature process when I could have rightfully gotten 25% of that vote up there if things were fair.
Of course you could have. And that's the way it used to be done, because the idea was that, okay, the bosses want to have something to say about it, but they also want to make people feel like, and very, very often, I'd have to go back and look, but the non-party candidate often won the primary. It was even on the Democrat side that would happen, where the person who was one of the 20% people would win the primary.
And you would think they would want for a popular person to run in the general election, a person that actually people come out and vote for, people like, but it's almost like,
or get the chance to like,
right.
get the chance to understand and
Right.
enjoy.
I'm speculating, but it's almost
Yeah.
like they just want the person that
No,
for whatever the reason.
People should understand how this nomination was done by contributions to the party bosses. Contribution here, contribution there, tossing around a lot of money.
That's what you always say.
That's the absolute wrong way to build a political party. You're never going to change this place. Well, I mean, why should the place change from a crooked Democrat place to a crooked Republican place? What's the point? Might as well stay crooked Democrat.
So while we're
If
talking,
all the Republican Party is going to do is imitate the Democratic Party,
Right.
which is one of the problems in Michigan too, but don't tell Ted.
while we're talking about elections, Mayor,
Somebody's got
Minnesota,
to reform that damn party.
1% in Minnesota, Trump is already up 55. And 1% in.
say it again.
1% in Minnesota, Trump is up 55 already, plus 55 and 1%.
That's a state he can win this time.
I would say so.
Yeah.
With all the disaster they did in Minnesota,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
all of the people, all the riot people let out by the Soros DA,
Mm-hmm.
and thank you to the. I mean, they had like unbelievable riots there, right?
Yeah. George Floyd.
Yeah, but unbelievable.
Yeah.
And isn't that where the mayor gave up the police station?
Yeah. Minneapolis, they burned the whole city down.
That I think that was the
In the name of
proximate
justice, though, what
cause
do you-
of the whole thing
course.
going up.
Why else would you give up the police? Come on.
As a mayor, as a former mayor, it drove me nuts when he did that. I went crazy.
They're calling Colorado for Trump as well.
I can't possibly understand how you give
Yeah.
up a police precinct. You give up a police precinct?
Crazy.
Yeah. Who ever heard of that?
I called him, the boy mayor. He was a child mayor.
Jacob Frey, Mayor Frey.
What was he, about 14?
He really was like the boy, man. That's a great line. Yeah.
He must have been like peeing in his pants.
Couldn't even believe. I saw that's the mayor of a major American city.
They're still giving Nikki Haley hope in Vermont. Trump up 1% in Vermont still.
Yeah.
They don't want to give it up.
According to the New York Times, Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley's as her predicted to win, even though Trump's winning it.
Yeah, he's still winning.
Voted, Trump's up.
Yeah.
But hey, that outstanding vote must be coming out.
Not according to this, but 50%, the Times has her up by 2.7.
Well, they have her estimated to
That's an estimate.
That's the estimate of the final outcome. The current reported margin, Trump is up 1.3%. I will say his lead is decreasing in Vermont. See, that's where we're at, folks. We are down to watching the great state of Vermont and election with Florida.
She can have Vermont. Jeez, I'm telling you.
Ben and Jimmy's.
over there. Yeah.
I'll trade Vermont for Vancouver.
No way. I'm going over there. Yes.
I think it's what I say. I hear. I don't know.
They have that big cowboy thing in Western
Saskatchewan or Calgary. The
Calgary Stampede. Yeah, I want that.
Yeah, good hockey. Calgary Flames.
Calgary, state of Calgary, in return for the state of
Alberta.
Vermont.
Calgary is in
Can we,
Alberta or
can
Saskatchewan.
we give up like parts of California, like Hollywood and
Parts of California?
Yeah. Keep the Central Valley.
Well, I
Keep
actually
the Central Valley.
What a lot of people don't understand is if most of California,
Nobody's gonna take Oregon and
Nobody wants to.
because it's too smoky.
I'm saying most of California is actually Republican, except for Southern California. But
New
yeah,
York.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
it's a new state. It's
Yeah, yeah. Orange County, California is actually very conservative.
Yeah, but
Very
we got LA County,
Yeah.
right?
Do we have to take special precautions counting the vote in Colorado? That it's accurate because everybody,
They're already calling it.
Yeah, with mail-in
No,
voting, we have
but
to
I
do that
mean-
in all 50 states. But,
you know,
Oh, the smoking.
like every state.
I mean, could it
Could it get to their head?
could it
They're
deal with-
foggy,
I mean, there's been a lot of studies about how dangerous,
Come on, Tom.
how cannabis is.
Hey, look.
Could it throw off your
That should help us though, right? They're all high.
no, your ability to count?
Yes. Oh. Well, I'm thinking they may have all the experience cheating in that, but they've been getting so high, maybe that's going to slow them down,
Just a time.
so they can't cheat enough.
You know, Oregon, they're going back. They're going back to making cannabis illegal.
Yeah, I saw that.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
I will say our audience, we have a mixed
They got 14
audience
people left, but I mean,
When it comes to
philosophy. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to weed.
It's not about whether they use it or not.
14 people
It's
left.
a philosophical question of the government's role.
When it comes to the weed,
Government's role in
yeah.
Well, because it was like bumper cars, right?
it's like bumper cars. Yeah.
Right in Oregon, it was like bumper cars. Remember the lady? We go
Mayor.
to getting calls again. Remember the lady that calls us?
Yeah.
Is it from Oregon? She's
From-
right on the coast.
Yeah.
She says she's on the coast because if you get really close to the coast, you can keep a lot of the. She's very funny.
She was funny.
She says her little town, they don't have any.
We'll have to give us a call. That's our friend. We have a group of friends. We've gotten away from
That's
calls.
Julie.
We'll want to get
Julie.
Julie. Say, shout out to Julie. She's
I
probably
remember Julie.
watching tonight. We got a big
She
audience.
told us where she lived, and we found it on the map. It's right near the coast.
Our live audience right now, we have over 26,000 live viewers right now. And that's just for some of it doesn't count up all the platforms. So yeah. Again, we have a mix, but it's not about getting high as much as it's a philosophical question about the role of government
and regulating.
and regulating. Yeah.
Well, do they have to do like a recount in Colorado after everybody?
Yeah. Everyone sobers up, they'll do a recount. And funny how see how things change. Hey, it is the Mile High State, right?
Aha.
Mile High Stadium, the Denver Broncos.
I tried once to
You want to give me a laugh track?
I was
I
going to
tried once to light up my cigar in a cigar store in Colorado in Denver, and they told me you can't smoke in the cigar store. You can't smoke a cigar in the cigar store. I said, "Could I smoke a reefer?" I said, "Absolutely,
A reefer.
a reefer."
One reefer.
Can I smoke the?
They said yes, but not your cigar.
No. Same thing in
I can't-
De Blasio. I don't know if it's still the law, but De
man.
Blasio had a regulation that you couldn't smoke cigars. You couldn't smoke in Central Park.
Okay, when I was in
Only in Gracie Mansion.
a Colorado shop, they wanted to ID me just for standing in the shop where my friends were purchasing marijuana. I was just standing there drinking my coffee. They needed to ID me.
Sure, you were. Sure. Sure.
Not for voter ID laws.
That's right. That's I don't have ID to
I
pick
tried
up
to
a
hold a
reefer.
call with him, but I was like, I'm
Yeah. Caitlin was just standing in the shop. Right. Because you look 18.
Right. Height
Killed the
privilege.
camel.
A glass of wine because I'm too short, but some illegal can just hippity hop across the border and vote for Joe.
Absolutely. And vote in New York, although it has been enjoined in New York. So we'll see.
I like this format. It's fun.
You like this format? Well, the way we leave it now is Trump is ahead in everything. The only place that looks questionable is Vermont, where he has a small lead. Aside from Vermont, his worst problem is 22% in Massachusetts. He's got two 66%. That's Alabama and Oklahoma. He's got a 57 in Tennessee, a 54 in Texas, a 52 in Arkansas, a 50 in North Carolina, a 47 in Maine, 35 in Minnesota, but only 6% in, 29% in Colorado, almost all in, Virginia, 29%, almost all in. So, I mean, it's a big night for Trump, and he's really the presumptive nominee of the party, without any doubt. He probably makes it on the next group of primaries, which I think includes Florida, and it'll put him over the top.
Do you think Nikki Haley's going to drop out?
I think so. I see no point.
Andrew had other ideas.
Andrew thinks that she has a nefarious purposes, and it could be.
Rightfully so. I'm sure many Americans are thinking the same thing. What is she doing here?
Yeah, I mean, the time to drop out would have been after New Hampshire.
Maybe she's been smoking too much. Mara, we wanna.
It's tough to imagine that she would still be in, even up to this point, right? I mean, the writing has been on the wall for a long time now. But it's tough to imagine that there's any reason that that is supportive of our conservative ideals at this point, when it's very obvious that she's not going to be the candidate, right? It's been obvious for a while now. So look, we'll see. Maybe she does drop out, but if she doesn't, then I think it's pretty obvious she does have nefarious.
Oh yes, yeah. There's no from this point on. There's no reason to be a candidate.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. There can't be any possible reason to be a candidate. She's not going to get enough votes to be a factor at the convention. I mean, she's not even going to have 100 votes. They're probably going to boo the heck out of her if she shows up.
I think more voters will start actually hating her and ruin her chances for the future, because you're taking away money, time, resources from the actual Republican candidate.
And given the fact that Republicans take this whole thing very, very seriously, that our country is in grave difficulties, she sure as heck's not acting like a patriot.
If she says, just say, we'll do our thing. President Trump will keep campaigning. I don't even think it really matters. As Caitlin said, it probably will hurt her even more. It probably will help President Trump even more, because it will show President Trump is still fighting for us. And
I agree. I think what she does is irrelevant to everything and anyone but her. It's either going to hurt her or help her.
I think that's worse to be irrelevant than just be the loser.
I think she's just loving the attention at this point.
Yeah.
She's getting more attention than she's ever gotten before.
Right.
It's about to end.
Yes. Well, Kara, good luck to you. You're going to be on again quite a bit, because we got a big battle here. And this was a very, very good night. I thank Justine, and I thank you, Caitlin. You were terrific. And Andrew, who's sitting over there still looking at numbers. And of course, Kara.
Go to Kara for Senate, CARA. Or Senate. My favorite politician in the world.
And don't forget, say a prayer for the people of Israel.
Yeah.
They're being put through hell by Biden. Biden's double crossing the heck out of them. And of course, we pray for the people of the United States. And I want to thank Ted. And I want to thank Mike.
Pray for Ted.
And I want to thank Rob. And Ted has some housekeeping matters.
I wasn't looking for a shout out.
Okay, but go ahead, Ted. What would you like to say?
I just want to let everyone know, we have a huge, big audience tonight. I want to remind them to subscribe to the mayor on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Rudy Giuliani. And go there for exclusive content, including most recently a breakdown of Super Tuesday.
Yeah, and see how accurate I was.
And of course also a breakdown of the Supreme Court decision, which I think you'll all find fascinating, whether you're a lawyer or not. The mayor really breaks it down And again, this is someone who served as assistant U.S. attorney, right? The U.S. attorney to the Southern District of New York. And so this is someone who really has incredible insight on all sides of this matter, right? From the legal side, but also the political, working with all these different presidents. So be sure to go to Rudy Giuliani on X, formerly known as Twitter. Hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching on YouTube, we also need you to hit that subscribe button, right? So you get and you're informed every time we go live, which is 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And maybe tell a friend or two. If everyone tells 2 friends about the show, right, we can quickly double the live audience. And so we're asking you to do that. And we want to thank Kara for being on tonight.
Thank
Kara,
you.
Caitlin, Justine. Before we go, for Kara, again, why don't you plug that website? Let folks know how they can join the campaign.
Para for Senate, CARAFOR for Senate.com. Please donate. Please sign up to volunteer. I need all hands on deck to get on the ballot and beat these 2 guys.
Let's go.
All right. God bless America.
Our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able